Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because today we're going to decode the brilliant, highly complex, and honestly, sometimes totally surprising science of human nutrition. We hear words like carbs, proteins, and vitamins thrown around every single day, right? But today, we're going to look at them completely differently. We're going to visualize your body as a massive, bustling construction site. And to really understand how this site operates, we're drawing from some incredibly detailed foundational science notes that are actually tailored for competitive exams. But hey, you don't need to be an exam aspirant to be fascinated by this. I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you will literally never look at your dinner plate the same way again.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because right off the bat, we need to dispel a massive myth that trips up countless people. Think about it. Does taking vitamins build your body's muscles? If you said yes, well, you're not alone, but you are incorrect. It's a classic trick question. People so often assume vitamins are the core building blocks of a strong body, but science actually categorizes our nutrients really clearly. Water and minerals are inorganic, while carbs, proteins, fats, and vitamins are organic. But here's the kicker. Vitamins do absolutely zero building. None. They don't give you energy, and they definitely don't build muscle. So what exactly do they do?
To really understand their role, let's use this fantastic analogy. Imagine your body is a giant construction site building a massive skyscraper. In this scenario, proteins are the bricks and the cement. They literally form the physical structure of the building. Carbohydrates and fats? Well, they're the fuel and electricity powering all those heavy machines and cranes. But think about it. A site with just bricks and fuel is complete chaos, right? You absolutely need someone to dictate exactly where those bricks go and how fast the machines run. And that is exactly where vitamins and minerals step in. They are the supervisors. They don't provide the energy themselves. They control and regulate the metabolism. They manage the entire operation.
So, here is our blueprint for today's explainer. Number 1, fuel and electricity. That's your carbohydrates and fats. Number 2, bricks and cement, the proteins. Number 3, the troops and rations. We'll look at gut health and digestion. And finally, number 4, the supervisors, vitamins and minerals. All right, let's jump into section 1, fuel and electricity, exploring carbohydrates and fats. Let's start with the power grid of our construction site and look at how carbs work on a microscopic level, because this brilliantly illustrates how molecular structure is literally everything in biology. Carbohydrates contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a 1:2:1 ratio. Now, both starch, which you find in potatoes, and cellulose, which you find in grass, are polymers made of glucose. So, why can we easily digest a potato but not a blade of grass? Well, notice how starch has a twisted, spring-like molecular structure. In a classic chemistry test, when you add iodine to starch, the iodine molecules actually get trapped inside those springy coils, and it turns this deep blue-black color. Cellulose, on the other hand, it's completely straight and rigid. Nothing gets trapped, and just like the iodine can't get in, our digestive enzymes can't break it down either. It's fascinating. Just a slight change from a spring to a straight line completely dictates what we can and cannot eat.
Now, while 1 gram of glucose from carbohydrates gives you about 4 kilocalories of energy, let's talk about the real heavy hitter here. Look at that massive number, 9.3 kilocalories. That is the energy you get from the complete oxidation of just 1 single gram of fat. It is more than double the energy of carbs. Fat is an incredibly dense, absolutely fantastic source of fuel. In fact, a healthy adult should be getting 20 to 30% of their energy from fats. The problem isn't the fat itself, it's how our body stores it. You see, when we take in way more energy than we burn, our body converts it into a type of fat called triglycerides. These get stored in our fat cells kind of like reserve batteries. It's an amazing survival mechanism, honestly, but it's one that gets us into a bit of trouble in our modern sedentary times. But we have to remember, not all fats are created equal. And again, it all comes right back to structure. On one side, we have trans fats. These are the highly processed ones, often found in fried or packaged foods. They are rigid, they increase your bad LDL cholesterol, and they literally block up your arteries. But on the flip side, we have the heroes, unsaturated fats, specifically PUFAs, or polyunsaturated fatty acids, like the omega-3s you find in fish or flaxseed. At a microscopic molecular level, these fats have double chemical bonds that make them incredibly flexible and reactive. And because they're so flexible and readily absorb oxygen, they don't clog up your vessels at all. Instead, they actually help sweep your arteries clean. And the interesting thing is, our bodies can't make these healthy fats. We have to get them directly from our diet. Moving right along to section 2, bricks and cement, which means it's time to talk about proteins. So we have our fuels sorted. Now let's look at the actual physical structure itself.
Now, what's really interesting here is just how efficient the human body is. All the proteins in your entire body are built from just 20 types of amino acids. You can think of them as 20 different shapes of Lego blocks that you need to build your skyscraper. But here's the absolute genius part. You don't actually need to eat all 20. Your body is this brilliant factory that can synthesize 10 of these amino acids completely in-house. We call these non-essential amino acids, things like glycine and serine. The other 10 are essential amino acids, like leucine and valine. That means your body cannot make them on its own, so you absolutely, positively must get them from your food.
Now, you might be wondering, wait, isn't it a huge evolutionary weakness that our bodies can't produce half of the blocks we need to survive? Not at all. It's actually a brilliant strategy that we can call evolutionary outsourcing. Think about it. Why should the body waste its precious energy manufacturing these 10 amino acids when they are so abundantly and easily available out in nature through our diets? The body essentially outsourced the manufacturing to nature just to save its own energy. It's a literal masterclass in biological efficiency. But of course, biology is never without its exceptions, and the source notes highlight some really tricky facts that competitive exams absolutely love to test. For example, take the amino acids arginine and histidine. Are they essential or non-essential? Well, it depends on how old you are. Babies don't have fully developed systems yet, so they can't synthesize them, which makes them essential for kids. But as we grow up, our adult bodies actually learn to make them, shifting them right over to the non-essential list. And remember, proteins aren't just for building big biceps. Alpha-keratin builds your hair, your nails, and even animal horns. And an amino acid like tyrosine, that's used to create crucial neurotransmitters like dopamine and adrenaline. So quite literally, your mood and your happiness are built out of these microscopic Lego blocks. Okay, let's transition to Section 3, the troops and rations, focusing on gut health and digestion. To really understand how we process our raw materials, let's look at what is arguably the ultimate complete food: milk. Milk is just an incredible nutritional package. It's 87% water, packed with the protein casein, which is what makes it white, and beta-carotene, which gives cow's milk that slight yellowish tint. But a lot of adults really struggle to digest it. Why is that? Well, it all comes down to an enzyme called renin. When a baby drinks milk, the renin in their stomach immediately goes to work, converting the liquid milk protein into a semi-solid form called calcium pericaseinate. Essentially, the baby's stomach turns the milk into curds so it can be easily digested. The catch? Adults largely lack this renin enzyme. And that is exactly why, as we age, raw milk becomes much harder to process, and eating pre-fermented dairy like yogurt or paneer becomes a much, much smarter choice. And speaking of yogurt, this brings us to a massive point of confusion in modern nutrition: probiotics versus prebiotics. Let's clear this up once and for all based on our source material. Our intestines are home to literally billions of microorganisms. Probiotics are the living, beneficial bacteria themselves. When you eat curd or fermented foods, you aren't just eating nutrients. You're actively deploying a living army of defending soldiers, like lactobacillus, directly into your gut to improve your intestinal flora. So the crucial point is really understanding the difference here. If probiotics are the living soldiers, what on earth are prebiotics? Well, prebiotics are not bacteria at all. They are special dietary fibers that act as the food, the rations for your probiotic army. You eat prebiotics to feed your probiotics. For example, prebiotics help enhance the process of hydrolysis, which is using water molecules to break down complex milk sugars like lactose into easily digestible pieces. This dynamic duo of bacteria and fiber is leading to a massive rise in what we call nutraceuticals. It's this fascinating area of science where nutrition meets pharmaceuticals, meaning foods that don't just feed you, but actively act as medicine right down on a cellular level. Finally, we arrive at Section 4, the supervisors, our vitamins and minerals. So we've got the energy, we've got the building blocks, and we have the processing troops. Now we bring in the ultimate controllers. To kick things off, the source notes share this really fun, classic study trick used by students preparing for heavy-duty exams. The concept of vitamins was first introduced by a Polish scientist named Casimir Funk. To remember his name, students use a clever little pun. The word funk sounds exactly like the Hindi word funk, which means to blow air. So the joke goes, the scientist blew and discovered vitamins. It's a silly, simple little mnemonic, but it perfectly lodges Casimir Funk's name into your memory forever. And here is another incredibly useful visual trick from the notes to help categorize these supervisors. Vitamins are either fat-soluble or water-soluble. To remember the fat-soluble ones, just remember the acronym KETA, vitamins K, E, D, and A. Incidentally, KETA sounds just like the word for insect in Hindi, making it an unforgettable visual for students. The remaining vitamins, B and C, well, those are water-soluble. And this distinction is absolutely crucial because your body stores the fat-soluble vitamins, but it flushes out the water-soluble ones. That means you need a constant daily supply of vitamins B and C.
And what happens when you don't get that daily supply? Well, we've all heard that a lack of vitamin C causes scurvy. But what is scurvy really? It's not just some random sickness. Vitamin C, or ascorbic acid, acts as the vital glue that your body needs to manufacture collagen. And collagen is the protein that binds your skin, your blood vessels, and your tissues all together. When you lack vitamin C, your body simply stops making this glue. Without the glue, your internal structure literally begins to collapse. Gums bleed, wounds refuse to heal, tissues break down. Scurvy is the horrifying, physical result of a construction site that has lost its key supervisor, causing the entire building to crumble from the inside out. And minerals play an equally critical supervisory role. Take iron, for instance, which you can get abundantly from things like spinach. Iron is the essential raw material required to build hemoglobin in your blood. You can think of hemoglobin molecules as microscopic taxis that transport oxygen to every single cell in your body. Without the mineral iron, the taxis just don't get built, the oxygen doesn't get delivered, and your entire construction site grinds to a complete halt. It really proves that in the human body, nothing works in isolation. Every single nutrient relies completely on the others. So, we've toured the entire site, we've seen exactly how carbs and fats power the cranes, how proteins lay down the bricks, how our gut bacteria process the deliveries, and how vitamins and minerals flawlessly supervise the whole operation. The science of human nutrition isn't just some boring list of diet rules, it is the breathtaking engineering of life itself. So I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder as you go about your day and sit down for your next meal. Knowing all of this, looking at the incredible architecture inside you, how are you fueling your own magnificent, complex machine today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.